Drug history. Cannabis, innumerable amount of times. Mushrooms, twice. But only approximately 1.7 grams, fairly intense but nothing mind-blowing. Attempted LSD, turned out to be what I believe was LSA. Attempted 2CE, twice. DXM 5 or 6 times. 300 milligrams once. 450 milligrams once. 600 milligrams the rest. With the 2CE attempts, the first time was 20 milligrams oral. I felt nothing more than very, very slight visuals, as well as uncomfortable body load for several hours. Not fun. The next night, I tried it with my friend B. We insufflated a small amount, probably about 2 milligrams, and then swallowed the rest light trip. Nothing too intense. B's experience is pretty much like mine. However, he has smoked DMT on one occasion, and used 2CI on another occasion. The two of us have been dying to have an experience like the one we had yesterday afternoon. Any time we've have attempted. However, I'm assuming the chemicals were bunk. Pre-trip and dosing. I worked yesterday afternoon from 7 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. I messaged my friend B. shortly after getting off work because we have been dying to trip and will not be able to this weekend. The only problem is that I also had work this morning at 6 a.m. So I wasn't about to have an 8+ hour trip, only to be extremely exhausted and out of it at work. I then came up with the idea of snorting the 2CE he has, since the trip is supposed to last only 3 to 6 hours. B gets off work and tells me to meet him at his house. I promptly show up around 5:15 p.m. We discuss where we would go as his father would be home shortly and we wouldn't be able to trip at his house or mine. We decide to go to a nearby park for our hopefully beautiful experience. B and I get into my car and drive to the park. Driving around once, we look for a place to ingest the 2CE. Finally, we decide to go up to a back parking lot near the baseball fields. At 6:45 p.m. B opens up the 20 mg gel cap of 2CE and empties it onto a plate we brought along for the ride. We split the pile into 2 even piles and B goes first. The reason for the large amount is simply that we want to trip hard and in one fell swoop. He takes all of the chemical into his nose. After a few choice words and some complaining about the horrible burn in his right nostril, he hands the plate to me. I split my pile into 4 even piles and proceed to take them one by one, alternating nostrils. This burned pretty bad. I can't imagine the pain B must have felt. The chemical drip was awful as well. By this time, B was already starting to feel it. The trip begins. I put my car in reverse and quickly drive over to the main area of the park. Arrowhead note: driving while intoxicated, tripping, or extremely sleep deprived is dangerous and irresponsible because it endangers other people. Don't do it. I'm definitely feeling the drug take hold in my system. I cross the street and park my car near the entrance of the park. When I stop the car, I feel as if we continue to move, as well as sink into the ground. I sit momentarily as B begins to leave the car, going to the bathroom. I follow him. As we walk to the bathroom, the ground feels as if it is waving, almost like I'm walking on top of an ocean. We arrive at the bathroom and soon after, B vomits. He sits at the toilet for a minute or two, waiting to see if that was all. I hold down my stomach and manage to avoid vomiting. As I wait for B, I notice the room breathing and moving. After we feel somewhat better, we head outside. We sit down next to the bathroom entrance and I look into the grass. The long sought-after Persian carpet-like visuals were finally achieved. We sit for a few minutes and manage the strength to stand up and move nearby to a covered area with picnic tables. We remain here for nearly 30 minutes. As we sit at the tables, the only thing we can concentrate on is how horrible we feel. the burning in my nose, the gigantic head rush, the suddenly intense perception and visual changes, the nausea, and finally the uncomfortable body load. The only way I believe I can describe this feeling is horribly uncomfortable. Nearby are some children playing on a playground, and some women talking on a bench. This is probably some of the most beautiful noise I have heard in my life. The crisp, clear noise sounded wonderful in my ears. After about 30 minutes of exploring our newfound visuals and attempt at removing the discomfort we were in, we decided to go into the woods and follow the Frisbee golf course. The open and closed eye visuals are very intense, more so than I have ever experienced. As I look around, the trees, the dirt, the leaves, and everything come together to make twisting, intricate patterns filling my field of vision. Every so often, we feel as if we must ground ourselves to a spot or we may not come back. We sit on a fallen tree as well as the ground for a few minutes. I check my phone, and it is 7:30 p.m. Around this time is when we magically feel completely better from our discomfort. I now feel absolutely amazing. I'm not sure if the initial discomfort was worth it, but I now feel wonderful. We walk around and explore the woods for what seems like an eternity. Many trees appear to have faces, and the details in the trees are spectacular. After wandering around for about 30 minutes, I notice a massive amount of fireflies. One will light up, then thousands of others will follow, and this process repeats constantly. The tracers in my vision are much more intense than I have ever noticed. When a firefly comes near me and I focus on it, there appears to be 6 or 7 fireflies flying along the exact same path. I was fascinated by this. I tried to catch a firefly to call my own, but to no avail. My coordination wasn't that great. At 8:15 or so, the sun is going down and darkness is coming. My sense of direction is completely shot and I am lost and begin to freak out. In B's attempts to ease me, we walk to the road and follow it around. We come upon a basketball court where probably 30 people or so are playing on different courts. Once again, this sound is absolutely breathtaking. We manage to make it to my car and get in. Now 8:30. We ingested the chemical nearly 2 hours earlier. I turn on the radio, and Benny Benassi is DJing on a radio show. We listen this to a few minutes and decide to leave the park because it is in a fairly dangerous area. Driving is a whole new experience. There are things flying by the sides of my car and many things happening on the road, yet I manage to concentrate on driving. I feel as if I am very low in my seat, so this makes it slightly awkward. We drive around for a bit and end up eating at Steak and Shake, as well as Chic Filet. I hadn't eaten in nearly 10 hours and was starving. Now, we end up at Walmart and walk around. I look at literally every person I can see, and in less than a second's time, I analyze them completely. I feel my brain working faster than the speed of light and must remove myself from such a populated area. We walk around more secluded areas and then come across the electronics. There are probably 20 or more people in one area making a ton of noise. This combined with the multiple non-synchronized televisions was too much and I have to leave. This was a sensory overload. By now, it is probably 9:15. We spend the remainder of our trip driving around and sitting in random parking lots. We talk about the intensity of the trip, life, work, school, drugs, and other things. I drop B off at his house around 10:30. We are for the most part down at this point. I arrive at my house and journey to my room. If I concentrate, I still can see fairly intense patterning in my carpet. I get ready for bed and adjourn to my bed around 11 o'clock. I lie down and think, as well as have some mild closed eye visuals until I finally fall asleep at 1:30 a.m. I awoke this morning at 6 a.m. feeling refreshed and energized. I worked harder at work than I have in quite some time. It is now 6:09 p.m., nearly 24 hours after our initial ingestion. House around 10. Final remarks. Overall, I had a very good experience with 2CE. My prior experiences left me disappointed and wanting more, but this time sure made up for the others. Again, the discomfort at the beginning was awful, yet eased until I felt amazing. It turned out to be a lot of fun and was quite enjoyable. I'm sure I will do it again in time, but not quite in the same fashion. My next experiment, 2CP. I am intrigued by the 2C series and wish to try more of them.